So we're going to continue the series on just becoming my authentic self. And Henry is a semi sort of kind of guest until he gets his breakfast treat, and then he'll probably go away. But for me, I really started to notice that I was different when I was a child. And I know we like to talk a lot about gifted and talented children and what that looks like and what that means, but those children are not always supported or honored by society, by adults, sometimes by Black parents. Said that part, we'll come back to that. Because sometimes our parents didn't always have the capacity to know what to do with us. And I speak on that from personal experience. Your lived experience might be different, and that's totally okay. But there were moments where my parents were like, this is different, especially having a child that wanted to read the dictionary and beg for an encyclopedia for Christmas. Yeah, that was me. And even down to when my mom used to go to therapy, I would go to Barnes and Noble and would read and would convince her to buy me workbooks, because in Detroit, the cutoff for kids starting school was December 1st, and my birthday just so happens to be right after that. So I literally had to wait a year just because my birthday just passed the cutoff date. And I was like, okay, well, yes, I should probably occupy myself. And I started reading when I was 3 years old as well. And there were plenty of books to read. My parents did recognize, like, we should probably keep her busy and entertained. Sesame Street was my jam. Okay, Mr. Rogers, like, Rita Rainbow. I was entertained. We had quality television. Thank you to PBS, not to mention Arthur. Okay. I digress. Saturday morning cartoons. Okay. All right. Squirrel moment. Squirrel moment. But I would work on those exercises every day. I would practice reading. I would use my sight words and my flashcards and all the things. And then when I finally did start preschool, to say that I was underwhelmed would be an understatement. Actually, I was PO'd because it was a half a day and to start, and I was like, all right, we playing, okay, this is cool, but when we gonna learn stuff? And then I kind of held out, and then I went the full day because, you know, they realized I could be without my mother for long periods of time, because I was already exploring by myself, going on adventures. I was cool without her. And when I went the full day, they had the nerve to have nap time. Like, I was so upset. And I remember telling my teacher, like, I didn't wait a year to start school to take a nap. I could take a nap at home. And they just thought it was so funny. I was like, y'all laughing, but I'm serious. Like, why do I need a nap? Now granted, as an adult, I regret not taking more naps as a child because, you know, you're gonna be tired. But I realized very early on that it was gonna be a long road. It's gonna be a long road. I was in for it. But in all seriousness, even I continued to work separately by myself. I did not have a tutor. I did not have any of those things. I was literally taking full advantage, going to the bookstore, and baby, when I found a library, oh God. But, you know, I was working on my worksheets. And then when I got to the kindergarten, I could already count to 100. I was starting to figure out basic math and subtraction. And I would just get so frustrated sitting there because I was like, why? Or even going to the bathroom by myself, the teacher would be like, oh, do you need help? I'm like, no. And I realized, again, that was my early exposure to coming off as rude, because I'm like, why would you need to help me? I'm a big girl. I go to the bathroom by myself. And I was taller than the other kids too, so I had no issues reaching things or asking for what I wanted and needed. And that continued. And my teachers started to realize as well that I had an aptitude and an ability to do more, and they would often give me additional things to do while the kids were doing independent reading or different things. And when I realized, I think one of my teachers actually like had me doing advanced things, and I remember them talking to my mom like, you know, your daughter's very gifted, and, you know, we don't have anything at the school, but, you know, maybe you should consider putting her in extracurricular activities. And my mom was like, oh, okay. And I remember looking up at her like, and again, that is what I mean by sometimes your parents don't necessarily know what to do. And I remember asking, why this? What does this mean? Why is this like this? And how does this? And I was so curious about the world. And I remember my dad used to stay up late with me, and we would watch National Geographic, and I would ask him questions about things while we would eat root beer and orange sherbet floats. And to this day, I cannot stand those. But he really nurtured my curiosity. And one of the things that I appreciate him about him to this day, even though he is no longer with us, is he was okay saying, I don't know. And he would say it in such a way that as a child, it didn't make me think like, well, why don't you know, you're a grown up? But he would say, babe, that's a good question. I don't know. Why don't we look it up together? And I was like, okay, say less. And he made learning fun for me. And I would go and all of my cuteness, and I would find my encyclopedia, and I remember like I would have my red fingernail polish or my purple polish or my pink polish, and I would like scroll down, and I was like, okay, where's the word sounded out? Right there. Yes, elephant. And I would learn about the things. And we, if you know about the Scholastic, what is it called? I could see the highlights. There we go. And if I had questions, which is why I used to love the book fair, and I really think we should bring that back. But I would get those books, and I would go to the library at school, and I would sit down, and I would do the puzzles and all these things. And then when he left, obviously my mom had 2 kids to take care of, and I was like, wait, who's gonna, what? Huh? What do I do now? Who's gonna answer all my questions? And I think that also started the beginnings of my hyper independence, because I'm like, all right, like if nobody's here to answer my questions, I'll just figure it out myself. Anybody else have this experience? I'm curious.